So, wanted to do a quick little update with Miss Olive. She is doing wonderfully. We have introduced the e-collar, we've introduced all of her commands. So now we're getting into using them in the context of our daily lives, as well as increasing the difficulty with which our dog can do the behaviors. So let's talk about the second one first. I think I mentioned with the place bed, when we're doing our place stay, meaning she stays on the place bed, there's three things we're trying to increase. That is our 3Ds: distance, duration, and distractions. That is going to apply for all of our behaviors, but it's simplest to talk about them in the concept of the stay, meaning my dog can stay on the place bed for a long duration, however long, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 5 minutes, whatever. That's going to be our duration. Our distance, my dog can stay on the place bed while I'm right next to them, while I'm a couple feet away, while I'm on the other side of the room, while I'm on the other side of the yard. And then the level of distraction, my dog might be able to stay on the place bed as long as there's nothing else going on around you. But, can my dog stay on the place bed when there's chickens running around or while there's children running around or what have you? So that's what we're going to talk about when we've introduced these commands. She knows what the word sit means. She knows what the word stay, the word down means. She knows what the word heel means. But now we're going to say, okay, great, you know how to do these. Now, can you do them for extended periods of time? Can you do them while I'm away from you? Can you do them while I'm walking down the street? Can you heel with me that far? And can you do them in situations where there might be distractions around you? So the other thing we're doing this week is we've introduced the e-collar. She does really well with it. She is, we talk about temperament, we're going to talk about the fact that she is a little bit timid. She's a little bit weird. So she's a little shy about certain things, but otherwise she's a very kind of outgoing and curious, independent dog. But then there's some things that kind of get her a little bit nervous. So we're going to use the e-collar a little bit differently with her than we would with many of the other dogs. For a lot of dogs, they feel the e-collar. We hold down that button, that sensation, until they do the behavior, like come to me. And then when they do, it turns off. For her, I find it works a little bit better with like kind of a tapping. So if you think about like your seatbelt alarm, ding, 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 right? We're going to kind of like tap. And the same thing goes for the leash pressure too. Consistent pressure is not something she really like understands well. So when we use a light tapping sensation instead of just solid pressure, she tends to do things a little bit better. And that's going to be for everything, for our sit, for our down, things like that. So let me do a little demonstration. We're going to start with a little bit of recall. The hardest thing with recall is she needs to go away. There we go. So when she's away from me, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to press the e-collar button, and then I'm going to call her name. Olive, good. When she comes, I'm going to mark and reward. Now I forgot to get my clicker out, but she knows verbal and clicker marker. So if she's over here, when she's away from me, you're free. You're free. Uh-oh. You're tangled. There we go. You're tangled again. There we go. Okay. When she's away from me, Olive. Good. And if you notice, I'm doing this on a 6-foot leash. You don't need to do a 30-foot leash today. Like you can take your time. We can teach her the concept at a very short distance, right? Those 3Ds. And then we'll build up the distance from there. So from here, from this distance, we're going to go, Olive. Good. All right. So I'm using the e-collar on a level 6. I'm not sure if she feels it right now. She might not. What the level we've been working on. We're going to do it again. Olive. Good. So we're going to take it up to a level 7. There's also a possibility that it's not making contact with her neck. I did have to switch out the collar. She hasn't quite grown big enough for the adult collar yet. So I did put the puppy collar for her, just because her neck is so small still. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of fiddle with the box a little bit. There we go. So sometimes if the hair is in the way, if you kind of rub the box up and down, it'll kind of split the hair, and that way it'll get through to the neck. So I'm going to let her be free. Olive! Good girl. So on that one, I think she felt that one, and she responded to it because you saw her like lift her head up before I even called her. Olive. Good. Now the best thing about this, the way we teach this, is that even if she doesn't feel the e-collar, we're still practicing a really good recall. Olive. Girl. So whenever she's away from me, this is just, oops, sorry, hon. This is the conditioning phase. For the conditioning phase, I press it first, then I tell her what I want. Olive. Good girl. Okay. All right. Now, what we're teaching her is that when you feel the e-collar, it means I want you to come to me. Now, the beauty of that is the fact that when we talk about heel and recall are basically the same thing, but recall just happens from a greater distance. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you a little bit of her healing, and we're going to use the e-collar with the heel. So basically, we're going to pretend like I am home base, and there's a batter's box next to me, and that's where she has to be. She has to be standing in this little rectangle at my side, no matter where I go. If she moves outside that rectangle, e-collar is going to turn on. I'm going to tell her to heel. When she goes back into the batter's box, I'm going to mark and reward. Okay? I do like to use analogies. I do apologize if it gets confusing. But basically, I just want her to stay at my side. Anytime she leaves my designated heel position, I'm going to use the e-collar. She's going to come back in. E-collar is going to turn off, and then she'll get marked and rewarded. Heel. Now, when she is healing politely, I am going to reward her. Heel. Good. I'm also going to use the e-collar if she looks at the ground. Good. Heel. So literally every time she gets out of that heel position, e-collar turns on. And what's happening is that I'm dropping food and she's trying to get it. And I'm saying, nope, no food for you, not off the ground. Good. Now, heel is probably the hardest thing for people to teach and for people to understand. If you notice how often I'm rewarding her, sorry, I wasn't paying attention there. If you notice how often I'm rewarding her, it's very often. And at this stage, that's what I want to do, right? So when we start to talk about the 3Ds in the context of healing, we're going to talk about the duration between reward. Right now, her duration for heal in between rewards is pretty short. You can see that after I reward her, a lot of times she kind of checks out. But that's another reason why I want to reward quickly, is because I want her to think after each treat another one is coming. So I might even have 2 pieces of treats in my hand, and so every time I reward her, there's another one coming. Sometimes I'll have 3 treats. Okay? So this is kind of how we use the e-collar in the context of heel. When she's next to me, if she gets out of that heel position, she feels the e-collar. When she comes back into heel position, e-collar turns off. We hear a mark and a reward. Good. Good girl. So another part of heel is what happens when we come to a halt. When we come to a halt, she should sit. So I'm going to wait until she's paying attention and is already in the right position before I come to a halt. If you notice, when she kind of jumps up and gets her foot caught on the leash, I'm not going to immediately go fix it. I'm going to let her kind of struggle a little bit because I don't want her to jump up. So if she realizes every time she jumps up and her foot gets caught, it kind of sucks. Good. Olive. All right, so I'm going to get into a good position. We're going to practice a sit. Now I am going to have my food ready to go, so as soon as she sits, I can reward her. Good. Free. No. Good. So I am going to use the leash to prevent her from eating off the ground. Good. Free. And I'm kind of jumping around a little bit here, but when I use the leash pressure to keep her from eating off the ground, it's not the tapping I was talking about earlier. So if she's standing here and I want her to sit, I'm going to tap, tap, tap upwards. Free. Like that, right? I'm not stopping her from eating off the ground when I'm doing that, but I am giving her information, okay? All right, free. Yeah, we've been working on down. So down's going really well. Free. Olive. Good. So when I want to practice a down, I'm not going to ask for a sit. And that's why when we do our heel, we practice her going to that seated position without having to say the word sit. And so that way when we do want to do the down, we don't have to ask for a sit first. Free. Because I am going to have her go into the down position from a seated position. So when she's here, we've been practicing this, so I know she knows what's coming. Down. Good. And then free, and I'm going to step with my left foot. We're going to go over all this information in your lesson when you come pick her up. I'm basically going to have you go through everything from the beginning to the end. And that way you can kind of see how everything worked. This is mostly for your awareness. Olive. Good. Now, so I don't expect you to remember everything. I just want you to kind of see where she's at. Make sure you're not worrying that she's not learning anything. Free. Good. Sit. Because she's doing great. We had some really nasty weather, so we did have to do some of the training inside, which is fine. She's going to have to learn the stuff inside too. We did try an outing, but she's not quite ready for that yet. Olive. Now, the other thing that is cool about this e-collar is it has the option for tone. I have used the tone the same way you would use the regular e-collar. You just press a different button. So I press the tone, Olive, and then recall. Free. Olive. So when you press the tone button, which is the red button on the remote, free, it creates a tone on her collar. Olive. Good. Free. Olive. Now the cool thing about this remote though is that we have it set to her working level, which right now is a 7. And so when we press that tone button, free, it'll tone for 2 seconds and then it'll go to her working level. So whatever working level you have it set at, it'll go tone and then that level. Free. So she's away from me. Olive. The way I like to do that is it's when I'm conditioning it, it's tone, recall, and then it'll go to her working level if she doesn't respond to her recall command. What I'd love to have happen, if they designed it this way, sit, is if it would keep toning while the stimulation happened. Good. Heel. So that little jumping up, I don't totally hate it. Like, I don't mind her kind of showing me that she's giving me that upwards energy and upwards attention, right? She's trying to like come up to me in the healing, right? Right now we're trying to counteract her wanting to always look at the ground. And so she's using a lot of energy to stop looking at the ground. And so if she's giving me a little extra upwards, that's fine. Your dog is going to get much more distracted if they're looking at the ground. Down. Good girl. Free. Olive. All right, so for our sit stay and our down stay, we have started doing it just like we did with the place. So if you want to review the place video, we're going to say the word sit, step in front, go back to her side, mark and reward. Sit. No. Sit. No. Free. So personal preference, I don't really like them going into a down if they're in a sit. Free. She's also getting a little warm and getting a little tired. Long session. Down. We're going to do a down stay. Down. Good. Down. No. Down. Good. No. Down. Down. No. Down. Good. No. Down. Good. Down. Down. We're just going to build a little duration first. She wasn't quite ready for the distance. Down. And that's okay. We just started the stays anyways. So we still got time. Don't you worry. Down. Free. And lucky for you, I'm going to go visit my buddy who's got a whole bunch of chickens. I think he has like 300 chickens. And so we're going to take her. We're going to go visit, work on a little desensitization, and I'll let you know how that goes. But she's doing really good. She's having a blast. Heel. Good. Down. Good. Free. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know.